sailing ship arrived in the bar, flying the G, which means I require a pilot. And he was blowing for a pilot, which was too long to short. And there they took off, and it was a rowboat. Of course it was then, anyway, like. And when they got out near the ship, there was a squall, and the boat disappeared, and the pilots disappeared, and they were lost. Their bodies were washed, and their bodies came out. The bodies were gone, like. But they reckon it was a phantom ship. Yeah. When I started with the Carlingford Lough Commission in 1968 with Captain Murphy and a boat called the Ben Crumb, looking after the navigation boys in the Lough. At that time there was 13 boys, and they were lit with gas, 4 gas cylinders in each boy, connected to one pipe and up to the lamp. And they were there for, Captain Murphy retired in 1985, and a man the name of Bert McBride took over. And he done the same job. When the sea truck started to Warren Point to Heysham, they touched the bottom here and there in an odd place. As I say, there was 13 boys when they started, but then the boys started to add up. Every place the sea truck touched, they had to go a boy. And Bertie McBride was there in 95, and I took over as harbour master then in 95 after he left, and I was there to March this year. And there's 25 boys now in the Lough, Martin the Channel. And the Warren Point is very busy. I do a bit of piloting myself with my two brothers, Sean and Leo. And now it's Leo and his two sons, Paul and Michael, that's piloting now. But the ships are getting bigger. Used to be 1,000 ton. The old olive run to Newry was 1,000 ton of coal. And now they're coming in with 5,000 or 6,000 ton of coal. They deepened the channel 2002 for the bigger ships. Their ships now is 140 metres now, and they're 5.5 metres draft. Going in now to all states of tide, high water, low water. When I started, the boys were with gas in 1993. They were changed to solar. Now they're all solar lit, with a solar panel and a battery. And they've done away with that now, and they're all self-contained. Just a lamp. 4 solar panels and a battery. And they're all self-contained. I can see that change in that time that I've been there. And technology, it came a long way. Like, the boys had to keep them in position, keep the emergencies right, check them very often for in case they dragged and changed position. Had to keep them right. Full-time job, looking after the 25 of them. And then Newry River, the council got 10 boys up there, small boys up there from Warren Point, up the river really, from Warren Point to the Victoria Docks. So we got the job of looking after those as well. We left us then with 35 boys to look after. So it was really full time. And the boat, we got a new boat in 2002 called the Sleeve Ban. She's a crane runner, which means we can take out 2 boys at a time, take a clean boy out, lift the dirty boy and put the clean boy in position. It means there's never a position without a boy on it. There's always a boy there. With the Ben Crumb we couldn't do that. We had to drop a mortar and a wire rope and a mortar. She was only got a fixed derrick. We couldn't manage to. Well, my father was a pilot. He was called the bar pilot. Which I'm saying why he was called the bar pilot. He piloted the ships to what they call Warren Point Roads, which is a line between the monument in Rostrevor and the Charity Falls in Lough. which was the Charity Fellows now meet. It's now the Teen Centre. And then the O'Neills, one of the O'Neills from Warren Point was the berthing pilot. And he came out and took the ship on into Warren Point. And then an old man, he took the ship to the Newry. He had a hook in his hand. Wow. There was a timber ship came in one time. Willie Irvin was the pilot to Newry. And there was a story one time, the timber ship came in and Willie, the Alcorns was Willie's boatman. There was a small boat in Rowan. And Willie got on the Lough of the ship, and the next thing one of the crew was standing waiting on him, coming up the Lough, and he just braid the hook he had in his hand in the timber. And he ran to the wheelhouse and he told the captain there was pirates boarding. Oh, Willie Irvin, yeah. But anyway, he passed on, or he got too old. He was in his 90s when he stopped piloting. He must have been 90 when he stopped piloting. So my father, he took the ships on up to Newry. And he piloted there till Newry closed. 1973, 74. When Warren Point Newport opened. And he was glad to see it, for it's a long run from the bar to Newry. Particularly when you entered the canal, you only had a straight, you had to go up easy because of the wash in the banks. So you couldn't drive her up. So he was glad to see it's a shorter run to Warren Point. I'm sure Warren Point was only open whenever he died. He died 1975. He done it in all kinds of water. He never stopped. And the pilots still don't stop. This place has never stopped. Not about the weather. You get a strong tide here, ebb tide on a southeasterly wind, especially a spring tide, ebb on a southeasterly wind. You get an awful sea in the bar, out in the entrance. That's the tide coming out against the wind. It puts an awful sea up. Stretchers, and there's a very strong tide. It's run up to 5.5 knots. There's an awful lot of disasters in this Lough. The last one there was, the last bad one was the Cabotts from Carlingford, fishing for mussels. And the boat sank, 3 lost. They hadn't got their life jackets on. No life jackets. So now you wouldn't see the MCA now. That's why they're tightening up so much. There's not many tragic things happening. You have to go out, but the boat they have now is an ex-life boat. Where my father used to have was a completely different kettle of fish. He had no VHF, no really. It had a paddle engine, an old Morris engine, an old 30-foot skiff. I do VHF. There's no electric lights in her. All I had was a torch. And I seen him going out there many's the time. It wasn't compulsory piloting then, but it is now. But it wasn't then, and I seen him going out many's the time. Oh, it's the wrong ship. It was one of maybe fishers was coming in. The captain knew his way in. And it was the wrong boat. I would say at the moment you have 2 sea trucks, morning and evening, and along with that you have a couple of 3 coasters maybe. Greenore's fairly steady, and Warren Point's fairly steady at the minute. Greenore can take large ships on. They're taking on 40,000 tonners, but not load half euros. But they're still 200 metres now, some of them, which is the big ships. Which the pilots now has the tugs to handle them. Where before they fought it in a lot of cattle ships there, and they were big for that time, if you know what I mean. They were big. Some of the cattle ships then was big ships for that time, and they're outward and they were hand steering. And how he managed to get them on, I don't know. Connemara and Retriever they collided just out on the bar. 3rd of November 1916, I think it was. Connemara was heading out. She was heading out with passengers from Seattle, ordinary general cargo too, to Holyhead in Wales. And the Retrievers coming in, and they reckon the weather was bad, and on them days the crew had to go forward with oil lights to pull them up, to pull the oil lights up in the mast. And they reckon the weather was that bad they couldn't get forward. And there's a couple of lights I think maybe missing off the Retriever, and the Connemara maybe they weren't even lit. They reckon the Connemara didn't see her till the last minute, and it was too late. The Connemara's going out with an ebb tide astern of him. He went out hard. He had an ebb tide astern of him. The lighthouse keepers seen what was going on. There was a coast yard station in Greencastle, and the lightkeepers were putting up flares to for the coast yard in Greencastle to see, but nobody's seen it. Never seen. The next morning, there was one survivor, O'Neill from Warren. I think it's O'Neill from Warren Point. There was one survivor. The lighthouse used to be in Cranfield Point until the erosion it fell down. They built the Haulbowline. I don't know what year that was. It's wonderful how they built that lighthouse there. Blocks, granite blocks. I know. There was no machinery then, no cranes or nothing then. But it was lit by Parton Oil. Great light. There was used to be a powerful light, and there was explosive for the fog signal. Just to wind this arm out, and it was an explosion. And there was 3 lightkeepers on it all the time, and 1 man ashore. And if they needed anything, the semaphore, they used the semaphore. My father was the attendant to it. He went out on it Tuesdays and Thursdays. Or if he was piloting, he fish laps the pots as well. And if he was in out past the lighthouse running and needed anything, they would have wagged him over like. Lightkeepers came off the lighthouse on 17th of March 1965. And that was the last lightkeeper they'd done it. And it was automatic. There's actually 4 engines in the lighthouse. There's 2 generators and 2 compressors. 2 compressors for the fog signal and 2 generators for the batteries, charging the batteries. And that's all changed now too since that. Engines a whole lots away, and it's solar panels. And just like a light we use in the boys, that's on the lighthouse. Two couple of solar panels, and that's her. I seen the time when it was paraffin oil and the lightkeepers were on it. You could have counted the stones on the beach. Paraffin light on it. Yeah. This thing here now, a post now with a light on it would do the same job as the lighthouse. My brother was the attendant to last February. When the engines were on, he kept the oil right in the engines, changed the oil filters, fuel filters. Another time the bulb, there would have been a bulb blew maybe in the light, changed the bulbs. Just kept the lighthouse cleaned out, really. When the lightkeepers left, you see there's no heat in it. And inside the walls started to crumble, the pointing between the granite blocks started to fall out. And it's still doing the same thing with the dampness. But when the engines were there, it sort of kept it right. The engines were warm too, you see, with the heat of the engines going up through the bin, it kept it sort of right. But see now, with no engines on, it was good while the lightkeepers there. They had a range. They kept the range alone in the kitchen. Yeah, there was the lightkeeper's accommodation, and then there's the workmen's accommodation. And the workmen men that was out there was accommodation for them as well.